Well, I grew up in a house which was full of guitars. My dad had guitars and he used to play and we used to sing, so it was kind of natural that I had a curiosity in the guitar. But the real defining moment, I think, of wanting to play the guitar was discovering Dire Straits in my dad's record collection. So, you know, I was an 80s kid, so Money for Nothing and Brothers in Arms, all of that stuff. But the real tune that made it happen for me was Sultans of Swing. When I heard that, I just thought, I want to do that. I want to, well, first of all, be able to sound like that on an instrument, but also, you know, what I'm feeling now about this song and about this guitar solo, I want to make other people feel. So yeah, so that was really the moment that I really wanted to play guitar. Technique. Well, as I've said, Martin Knopfler was my first influence. He really got me going on guitar. And then I got into the blues guys. There was a local blues festival in my hometown, Burnley Blues Festival, which really helped me get into the blues guys. So I got into Eric Clapton, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, and then one day my guitar teacher played me Eruption by Van Halen, and it literally blew my mind. I'd never heard anything like it. And these strange sounds coming out of the speakers, I couldn't work out what was going on. And he explained to me that this was a technique called two-handed tapping. I was like, oh, this is, you know, this is the holy grail, this is the thing I've been looking for. So I went away, I learned Eruption, and then, to be honest, didn't really do much with the tapping technique until a few years later when I was at music college. When I was at music college, I had my first introduction into classical piano, really. Listening to it, not playing, and just really fell in love with classical piano pieces, and so kind of set about trying to play them on guitar, because I figured I'd invested enough time on guitar, I didn't want to waste that by just starting a new instrument. And my housemate at college was a pianist, and I would see her do these amazing runs and arpeggios that would span octaves just with absolute ease. She'd play one thing in one octave and the same thing in another octave and the same thing in the next octave, and it's just this fluid run that would just looked amazing. And on guitar, in fact, let me show you. Probably not the best angle to play it, but on guitar, it's not the, you know, to play something in different octaves like that, it's not the most suitable instrument for that approach. So if we take this pentatonic scale, D major pentatonic scale, it sounds like that. But on piano, literally, a pianist, my pianist friend, would play something in one octave and it'd be exactly the same in the next octave. So I went about looking for a way to achieve this, and figured if I played one thing on one string, if I was playing the same, one figure on one string, then that would be easier to move it to another string and play that same thing in one octave. So instead of, I'd be playing, and then just move up, skip a string, and then, so you can put them fluidly together, even at this awkward angle, fingers crossed. Actually, crossing my fingers at this point would not help the tapping technique. There we go. A very simple idea that I translated from piano became the basis of my tapping technique. So I would say my biggest influence in tapping is a pianist. Wow, that's a good question. My definition of creativity, I guess putting yourself into whatever you do, and trying to, whatever you do, try to come up with a unique and perhaps innovative way of doing it. So whether it be trying to market your own music, you can do that creatively. Whether it be creating your own music, you can do all sorts of things creatively. You know, you can do the gardening creatively, if you're finding a different way of doing it, and if you're just putting yourself into it and, you know, making it, making it yours. So that would be my definition of creativity, is just to try and express something of yourself in it, if that's not too kind of zen. And just make something unique. One thing that I've always been interested in is just making something unique. So all of my favourite players, they all have one thing in common, and that is they have a very specific voice on their instrument or in their compositions, or, you know, for artists with, you know, in their pictures. I love the fact that if you can look at an artist or listen to a musician's work, if you can tell specifically who it's by and who created that, then that is my mark of a good artist. So that is always what I'm looking for when I create something. And I find often if I kind of get an idea and find somebody else has done it, then I'm not interested in it anymore, because I don't want to create something that's already there, because what's the point? What am I adding to the world? So yeah, that's always been my approach. Okay, how do I create? That's a great question. Being obviously in a creative field, I find that having a deadline and having something specific to create, having a brief to work to, really, really helps me. And I learned this when I was writing for the guitar magazines back in the UK. I used to write in the style of pieces for the guitar magazines, and knowing a very strict brief, you've got to write a piece of music that lasts for 3 minutes and sounds like Brian May and demonstrates specific techniques. It's you know, when you are that limited, it is very freeing. It's very easy to create something. So I find limiting myself does help create. So today I was writing a piece of music, kind of in the style of Philip Glass, the minimalist composer, and just having that style in my head and having that specific sound really helps with getting things down, rather than opening yourself up to the infinity of sound that there is out there in music. If you say, right, I'm going to do this specific thing, it really helps you get something down on paper or down on tape. So yeah, that would be my tip for creating. Definitely set yourself parameters. Obviously, if you stray from those parameters, if it doesn't matter, then that's fine. But those parameters are a really good starting point, just to get your first ideas down, and you can see where it goes from there. But yeah, that's how I work, and that's how I find I work best. Creative. I'd say my challenges as a creative is actually making myself do something, because I do really want to create, and there's I feel like I have a lot of stuff up here waiting to get out, but unless I have a reason to get it out, then I kind of suffer from the perfectionist syndrome. A lot of people say that, and you're like, oh, I'm such a perfectionist. But for me, it is, I'm not saying everything I do is great. Far from it. For me, it is kind of a crippling disability where it just makes me procrastinate. It just makes me wait, put things off, because I think I'll be better at something if I have more experience, more preparation or whatever. So I do tend to put things off. So that is a challenge as a creative, and my solution to it is finding things that make me create. So I wanted to put together a silent movie show, a collection of music for silent movies. So I booked a show, and then I had to put the music together for this show that was booked in the diary, advertised, tickets sold, and it was the same with my first tour, first solo tour. You know, I wanted to put a solo set of material together, so rather than work on the set, I booked the tour, because I know that if I have a tour looming, then I will work towards it. I think the joy of creating is simply the creation itself and the finished product, and when you get wrapped up in a piece of music or whatever you're working on, and you work it out to the end, and you're really happy with the way it sounds, or you're not so happy with the way it sounds, but you know, you like a specific part of it and think that could be good for something else or something like that. So, you know, I just think the process of creating is just a joyful process in itself. Well, I mean, for me, it's interesting. It's a completely different show. The first time I did it, I mentioned that silent movie show that I put together when I wanted to start doing this sort of thing. The first time I did it, it was quite unnerving that I was playing something and there was people in hysterics in front of me. And I feel like it's definitely a way of inspiring and emoting more emotion from people than just playing music, or certainly in my experience. I mean, I feel like you know, if you give people a lot of information, a lot of sensory overload, everyone has a different experience of the show. So you find some people just staring at my fingers, watching it as if it was just a concert, and you know, we've got this interesting light show behind me that happens to be a silent film. And on the other hand, you find some people just engrossed in the film and enjoying the film, and both is great, and then you get some people in the middle. So how does it affect my playing? Well, I am playing along to what's going on screen. If I'm playing a piece that you would ordinarily think kind of conjures or captures a specific emotion, sometimes if what's going on the screen is a different emotion to that, then it's funny that what's going on screen can really make you play something in a different way. I did a tour called When Méliès Met Debussy, and one of the pieces that I play to a film called The Eclipse is Debussy's Arabesque and also his Clair de Lune. Now, in the Clair de Lune section, there's quite a funny romantic liaison between the moon and the sun going on the screen, but you've got this gorgeous melody by Debussy, the Clair de Lune, the first Clair de Lune melody, and obviously that is kind of like a wistful, very emotive melody, but it kind of becomes something a lot more light-hearted when you've got the backdrop of Méliès fooling around with a moon and a sun. So yeah, it definitely makes you play in a different way, and it gives the music different meaning. But you know, the more options, the better, I think. The fact that there's still stuff to be created, I think. You know, the fact that I hear a sound in my head and I have ideas that people haven't done yet. So as I say, if I didn't have any new ideas, if I didn't think I could create anything new, then I wouldn't be interested. I would gladly put the guitar down and call it a day. You know, I'm only interested in doing something fresh and new, and there are lots of fresh and new things to be done. I would say be yourself. Be yourself, because that is the only thing that matters. You know, don't try to be somebody else. Try to find an expression that conveys who you are in an original way, and there's nothing more important. Well, you should have asked me, has your cat ever said anything to you? Because the answer would be yes, my cat has said something to me. Funny you should ask that. When I was about, I think probably 8 or 9, my mum came into the living room and said, it's sausages for dinner, okay, Paul? And before I could answer, the cat that was sat between me and my mum said, sausages. I swear, true story. Well, you can visit all my social media things. I'm mostly on Facebook, so that is my Facebook page, Facebook blah blah blah, Paul Bielatowicz, and also I have a Patreon page. So if you want to follow along backstage, behind the scenes, when I'm on tour in the studio, then you can check out my Patreon page. And I have said that for everybody who signs up to my Patreon page, up to the first 200 people, we're at about 171 now, I am going to write them their very own composition. I don't know why I said that, but people should sign up before I change my mind.